I don't want to say the Chargers offseason is trash, but there's a waste management truck coming down the streets. Olivier Giroud may be the biggest mistake in LAFC history, and USC's top-ranked recruiting class has one guy that is a must-keep. Good morning. I'm James, and this is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos Morning Report. It's March 12, 2025. It's just days away from the six-time MLS Cup champion Galaxy coming up to Portland for a match, and I'm looking forward to seeing the G's in Oregon this weekend. If you like being in the know about LA sports, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist, and by all means comment. Now, before we go through the news notes, a look at the scoreboard. New Orleans 127, Clippers 120. The Kings beat the Islanders 4-1. And even though Columbus knocked off LAFC last night 2-1, LAFC is going to advance to the quarterfinals of CONCACAF Champions Cup due to the aggregate score. Meanwhile, today the Clippers are at Miami at 5. USC is going to face Rutgers at 5:30 in the first round of the Big Ten tournament. And Angelenos is at the LA Galaxy. It is Galaxy game day at 7:30 in CONCACAF Champions Cup, second leg of the round of 16. Angelenos leads in the aggregate 1-0. And what do you say we get to the news? The Chargers offseason. It hasn't been a plane crash. It kind of has that Delta Airlines landing upside down in Toronto and skidding to a stop on its vibe. That's kind of the way it looks. It's not necessarily the worst ever, but it really, when you take a couple of steps back, it looks like it's the worst among the teams in the AFC West. For example, Joey Bosa headed to Buffalo. And this is something we didn't know where he was going to land, but we knew that Bosa was going to have to leave as a free agent. He was cut. So it was to be expected. Also, for that matter, yesterday, the Bolts lost cornerback Christian with a K, Fulton, to Kansas City. Now, CBS is calling that theft, and with all the departures, it's super tempting to see it that way. The guys leaving the Chargers are names that we've heard. Obviously, Bosa. And 2 days ago, you look at the Bolts losing Puna Ford to the Rams, and it starts to have that snowball effect, where everything that seems miserable is gathering steam as it rolls down the hill. You're like, oh my God, everybody's abandoning the Titanic. Only there's Jim Harbaugh and Joe Ortiz acting like Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet painting nudes of each other in the corner. The Chargers had more than 20 free agents, though, most of whom came on the cheap last year. So the first thing I would say, and this is not necessarily a defense of the Chargers, even with all the cap space that they had, they weren't going to keep everyone, nor should they. Some of the people who've left, they've actually improved on. Take, for example, Christian with a K, Fulton. Well, they brought in Dante Jackson 2 days ago, and the guy had more picks last year than anyone else in the Chargers backfield that he's about to join. Now, I'm not trying to tell you that Christian Fulton sucked. He broke up 7 passes. He picked off Patrick Mahomes. And when you pick off Patrick Mahomes, it makes you feel like you had 5 interceptions. But no, you just had 1. So, good? No. Complete disaster? Can't go there yet. Because then you also remember how often Bosa was injured. Right now, in my opinion, if you are a Chargers fan, the main worry that you should have, aside from the interior offensive and interior defensive lines, is that the Chiefs have this annoying little habit of taking former Chargers and getting better production out of them. Just ask Drew Tranquill, and then look at Christian Fulton. Meanwhile, Charger bloggers are trying to ignore the fact that the team has stepped on a rake. One sensitive little wordsmith in particular defended bringing back center Brad Bozeman Hey, it's not that bad as you think. They only signed him for about $2 million next year. Bro, when you're ready to get out of the washer dryer and reorient your equilibrium after all of that spinning, yes, it's a bad idea. Even if Bozeman is a backup, this is not a particularly strong idea. It's not a strong idea because Jim Harbaugh football is predicated on your offensive line bludgeoning the hell out of the opponent's defensive front. It's running between the tackles, which means you need a center. And yet the rushing offense was 17th in the NFL, below mid. The pass offense with Justin Herbert, even worse, 19th in the NFL, below mid. And you might say, well, did that mean Justin Herbert all of a sudden start to suck? You might think that until you look at sacks allowed, 19th in the NFL. It was below mid. The team was eliminated, let's not forget, because the Houston Texans, they schemed to get their defensive end stunting to the inside to exploit the middle of the Bolts offensive line. Below mid, and you bring him back. If you believe in analytics, I'm not saying you should, Bozeman was ranked 36th among centers by Pro Football Focus, or as we like to call them, PIF. This means that there are multiple backup centers ranked above somebody who started for the Chargers last year. Now, there's a belief in football that you should build your offensive and defensive lines from the middle out. Now, maybe you disagree, which is fine. But the Chargers' interior on the offensive and defensive lines has deteriorated in just 2 days. Now, that may not be as fast as how the Nazis' faces deteriorated at the end of an Indiana Jones movie, but it's still pretty damn fast. Look, the Chargers made a great move when they added running back Najee Harris from Pittsburgh. 1,000-yard rusher, 4 consecutive seasons, great idea. But do you want that guy to succeed? Because his center in Pittsburgh was Zach Frazier, ranked top 5 by PIF. 5th to 36th. And you're trying to run between the tackles. Now, if you're on the coaching staff of the Chargers and you're convinced that you can move Zion Johnson from guard to center, okay, you may be right. But now the priority, more so than wide receiver, is to find a replacement guard. Because if you look at the Chargers depth chart now, you have taken Bozeman at center, Zion Johnson at guard, and you've only switched their positions, which is literally shuffling chairs on the Titanic. If you're a Charger fan, let me know what you think. For the most part, LAFC has been pretty damn consistent in their history. Consistently good player acquisitions, which, by the way, goes a long way to keep us from talking about how one of their owners is an anti-Semite. But I digress. So, does that mean LAFC striker Olivier Giroud, does that mean he's trying hard, or is he just a bad fit? France's all-time leading scorer still hasn't put the ball in the net for not once in a single MLS match. Not this year, not last year, and he's been running around the pitch for 965 minutes. The dude has won a World Cup, and he's also played for 3 world soccer powers in AC Milan, Arsenal, Chelsea. Meanwhile, since 2019, no MLS striker has logged more goalless minutes than Olivier Giroud. It's not even close. Now, fans, and I admit I understand, fans, when somebody is not succeeding, they automatically assume that player is not applying himself. And oh, by the way, MLS has always been seen as a retirement league. Giroud is 38. So you could sit there and say, well, wait, how hard do you expect a 38-year-old guy to run? Maybe he's not trying as hard. I see that point. And you may be right. But ask yourself, is he a right fit? What I mean by that, There were charts created to show where Giroud gets the ball while he was at AC Milan. It's right in front of the net. And the problem with that is LAFC's offense is predicated on Dennis Bouanga at the wing, attacking like a beast. Hell, even before Dennis Bouanga was there, you had Carlos Vela on the wing. You had players on the wing attacking from the side. And I get it, because when Bouanga gets ahead of steam, he is really difficult to stop. So if this were a basketball game, which it's not, but if it were, you're talking about Olivier Giroud basically going into the post and waiting to get fed. Because even when he was young, Olivier Giroud was not the type of guy to run at breakneck speed. He posted up, for lack of a better phrase. You don't post up when everybody's running at full speed. So if you're Steve Cherundolo, what do? You have basically a couple of options. You either switch the pace, you tell people to slow down so Giroud can get acclimated in front of the net, or do you say, you know what, I know Dennis Bouanga can take over, Giroud's going to have to start running or he goes to the bench. If you're an LAFC guy, let me know what you think. Obviously, it's still early in the 2026 recruiting cycle, but every so often I want to remind you of the type of players that are coming into play for either USC or UCLA. Now, when I do, understand, that's going to have a Trojan slant, because I have yet to see any Bruins prospect be 4 or 5 stars. They haven't done that yet. And I'm not even a hater. I like Deshaun Foster. But it's going to have a slant. It's going to have a slant like a water slide. If you are a USC fan, meanwhile, what that means is you have to do anything you can think of outside of human or animal sacrifice so that whatever God you believe in keeps linebacker Xavier Griffin in the fold. 24/7 Sports has him ranked 8th in the entire class. And I don't mean just the 8th best linebacker. I mean the 8th best player in the country. He's been described as a freaking animal by 24/7 Sports, with length, with versatility. And there's something else I've been saying for years. The moment that you and I should know that USC is back, it's not about Caleb Williams playing quarterback. It's not about other things. It's the moment that somebody on that roster has the guts and the ability to wear number 55. Legendary number in that program. Legendary. Willie McGinnis, Junior Seau, etc. That means that USC has taken defense seriously again. We've talked a lot about the Chargers offseason. How do we know that the Rams offseason so far has been better? Well, there's one clue. We're getting super boring stories now about the Rams. The feel-good stories, the fluffy stories. You read that and you know that there's nothing earth-shattering to either annoy the scribes or drama. We know Cooper Kupp is very likely to get cut any minute now. It sucks, but we know it. So what are the boring stories that tell us the Rams are getting what they want? Puka Nacua has gifted newbie Davante Adams his jersey number. Oh, the feels. Oh, the gooey vibes. Nobody cares. I can't stress this enough. Somebody getting somebody else's jersey number, nobody cares. Stop telling us. Like, seriously, they're trying to make it sound like Puka Nacua just gave up his last dime to the City of Hope. That's how generous Puka Nacua is by simply giving a jersey number. And I like Puka Nacua. I think he's probably a decent dude. But Davante Adams must have bought the jersey number. I don't care. If you want me to care about somebody getting another person's jersey number, make it interesting. Make it something humiliating. Forced Devontae Adams to do a pole dance on Santa Monica Boulevard. I'd be totally creeped out, but on some level, I suppose that's caring. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Talk to me, for example, about your take so far on the Chargers offseason. Because I think guard is an absolute priority right now. And for that matter, is Olivier Giroud the biggest mistake in LAFC history? And if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're talking LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Quien Corte El Queso production. Take care.